we don't see with our eyes, but we do see with our mind. In other words, the individual who has a desire can achieve that desire when they understand the relationship of being able to see it with their mind. Some people put what is called a crown on circumstance. In other words, there are some people that actually get down and they deify this word circumstance. That's what's in control of their life. See, I want you for just a moment to think about all the things that you actually desire. Think about all the things that you desire. But now let me ask you something. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'll bet 10 being high that your desire for certain things in life, I would bet that they are at a 10. See, I've heard people say, people lack desire. Nobody lacks desire. You see, if you take and define this word desire for just a moment, just define this word desire. It is the effort of an unexpressed possibility within us that is seeking expression through us. The word desire, it comes from the Latin word dea, D-A-S-I-R-E, which means to give birth to. Everybody in here has something rattling around within them that they want to give birth to. Desire is the language of spirit. But it seems the basic difference in people who experience their desire versus people who do not experience their desire, it has something to do with this great principle, the greatest principle an individual can ever learn, which is called expectation. Expectation. Now, if you had to take and write down something that surrounds this central purpose, just for a moment. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that every one of us have a desire to be more, to do more, and to have more. But how many people actually expect it to happen? You know, there's a great point in history where Moses was leading all these people around a desert. And you know, a lot of people said he was lost. Moses was not lost. He was a man of wisdom. And what he was doing is leading these people around and around in circles until he was able to change the attitude or the consciousness before he went in to this new land. And all the people, they came to him and they said, Moses, we've got a problem. We have no water. What are you going to do? He said, you go and pray to your God for rain. And away they went and back they came. And they come back and they said, Moses, God has forsaken us. He said, what do you mean? He said, we have no rain. Moses said, tell me, where are the ditches? They said, the what? He said, the ditches. If you believed it was going to rain, you would have dug the ditches. You see, you can go around and desire all the things you want to be, all the things you want to do, and all the things you want to have, but until you're able to see yourself on the screen of your mind, you will never, ever experience the desire. Until you're able to see it and then proceed by acting on it, you will never experience the desire. Now think about this. Everybody in here at one time started out even in search of a better condition. Improved quality, you could say, in our life. But for some reason or other, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% of the people actually experience the objective, the goal, the purpose that they started out with. What happens to 80% of the people who start off with this great desire, this great love to achieve something, to become more, to have more, and to do more, to express more and more of themselves? The very purpose of spirit is expression. That it is seeking to become more and more over and above what it has already become. What a great thing to understand. It is seeking to become But it cannot unless we permit it and provide this channel of expression. Unless we give it the channel, there is no expression. So how many people expect what it is they desire? We should never desire something we don't expect, and we should never expect something we don't desire. Your expectation is a magnet, and it will attract everything of a like nature. Where did you get off in search of or in pursuit of what is called your goal? How can you play the game of life? How can you get up in the morning, put both feet in the floor, and you've got nothing to work toward? See, you have a desire, but what you do is you don't see yourself in possession of the desire. Consequently, you don't release this power that flows with and through you. But isn't it interesting that we all started out in pursuit of the objective, but something happens at a particular point. We run into a crisis. We run into conflict. And it seems that we run into what is called demands. What are some of the demands we all run into when we start to try and improve the quality of our life? Be a little better as a salesperson. Be a little better as a person, as a mother, as a father. Someone once asked me, give me one good reason, Canary, why I should have a goal and maybe try to be a little bit better than I am. I'm going to give you one. There are little eyes upon you when they're watching night and day. There are little ears that quickly they take in everything you say. There are little hands all eager to do everything you do, and a little boy or girl who's dreaming of the day they'll be just like you. For you're this little person's idol, you're the wisest of the wise, and their little mind about you no suspicions ever rise. For they believe in you devoutly, and me, in all we say and all we do. Those little people who are dreaming of the day they'll be just like you and just like me. What are we like? For we are setting an example every day in all that we do to those little gaffers who are dreaming of the day they'll be just like you. Just like you, and just like me. Well, you see, when you're faced with a demand, don't have enough money, debt, people phoning us. Now think about this. Why is it when some people are faced with demands that turn into what are called risks, that some take what is called an option? Do you know the mind is such a marvelous, marvelous piece of equipment? Although the mind is an activity, it is not a thing. It is not a thing. I want you to think about this for just a moment. When the mind is presented with a demand or a risk, the mind will offer you and me an option. Do you know the option it offers us when we're faced with a strong demand and a risk is called the escape hatch? We then start expecting the result that we don't want. We are a force of energy, and we attract everything of a like nature. Bob mentioned that this mental state of vibration, which generates this emotional state of vibration, which moves this body into action, those three states of vibration are nothing more but your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Think of this word, attitude. Attitude is nothing more but our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. That's your state of vibration. That's the energy that you send out into life. And the only thing that flows in your life is based on what flows out of your life. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions release this energy and will attract everything that corresponds to that ruling state. Expectation can be either a blessing or a curse, but either way, it is certainly one of the most powerful unseen forces in your life. What do you expect? I'll tell you how to know what you expect. Take a look at the results in your life. Your results will tell you exactly what you've been expecting. What you've been expecting. Now, worry is the opposite of expectation using the same energy, but worry sets up a magnetic force that attracts things of a like nature or events and people to cause that worried state to actually manifest in one's life. Now, why haven't we been expecting them? Because we allow the demand and we allow the risk to control whether or not we're going to do it. Don't allow others. Don't allow circumstance. Don't allow it to control the way you feel about you. You determine your mental ruling state. Now, what are you doing to increase your relationships? What are you doing to increase, we'll say, your well-being? What are you doing to increase your productivity? What are you doing to increase these things, to improve them? Einstein said that all conditions and all circumstances in our lives, he said, they are a result of a certain level of thinking. Now, he said, if we want to change the conditions and the circumstance, we got to change the level of thinking that's responsible for it. We got to change the level of thinking that's responsible for it, which is our expectations must move to a new dimension. Do you know, if you have something you desire today, which you do you know that puts you in touch with it? You're hooked up to it. You're in harmony with it right now, but it's your expectation that moves it into your life. We will always gravitate towards that which we most secretly love, be it base of beautiful or a mixture of both. For into your hand will be placed the exact result of your ideal, your vision. Into your hand will be placed the exact result of your vision and your ideal. So expectation is the triggering mechanism. However, if you do not exercise extreme caution, expectation can also turn just as rapidly into a destructive, lethal enemy. Because people go around expecting bad things to happen to them. Oh, I don't want to do that. What if this happens? Therefore, you must be cognizant of how you are exercising this invisible but powerful force. We believe then that you already understand that you cannot have wealth in your material world until you first visualize the wealth in your mind. Have you ever considered that the highest, the most noble, and the most excellent thing about you is formless in nature? That the highest, the most excellent, the most noble thing about you is formless in nature. But what does this really mean? It means that before any one of us can ever begin to overcome the poverty which surrounds us in our external world, we must first conquer the impoverishment that is buried deep within ourselves. Impoverishment meaning many areas of our life. Some people are emotionally bankrupt. Emotionally.
I'm going to attempt to paint a picture in your mind. I want you to image an elderly couple that are living in the backwoods. They've been there all their life. They know nothing except what's in their own immediate environment. Now, this elderly couple have never had an experience of using electricity. All they've ever illuminated their home with is a wax candle or a kerosene lamp. They've had travelers that drop by periodically that have talked about this idea of electricity, but they have never used it. In the latter years of their life, they're transported into a small town. And to their amazement, this house is lighted with little 8-candled bulbs. Now, keep in mind, all they've ever used is the wax candle or the kerosene lamps. Now, to their amazement, they have this electricity. It would truly be magic to them. Well, this couple, I would imagine, would go over and they'd touch the switch. Remember, light to them was fire up to that point. And they're amazed that it doesn't burn them. They have never, ever seen anything like this before. They'd do it together, and then when they were alone, they'd wander over and they'd flip that switch again. See, their expectation would be that of fire, and every time they get near light, they expect it to be burned. But now they're finding that this doesn't burn them. It's much better to read by. If they had a book, they could sit and they'd read it so much easier with this new light than they would have with the old. Well, you know, electricity is very, very much like this power that we use in many respects. If you're going to work with electricity, you must work from a higher to a lower potential. Any engineer, any electrician will be quick to tell you that if you attempt to work from a lower to a higher potential, you'll get no use out of the electricity. Certainly no positive use. They'll also tell you that electricity can cook a person's dinner or it can cook the person. And the truth is, we have used it for both on occasion. You can use the electricity to freeze food, or you can use electricity to fry the food. It can be used one way or another. One day, after this elderly couple had become used to this new concept, and they can turn the light on without any fear of being burned, and they're used to these little 8-candle powered bulbs, a traveler knocks on their door. The traveler is holding a light bulb. And he's saying, those little bulbs are no good anymore. There's not enough light from them. The illumination, it's limited. What you really need is one of these 60-candle powered bulbs. Those little 8-candle powered bulbs are really next to useless. The elderly couple, of course, doesn't really know what the traveler's talking about. Why, I said, you know that one of these bulbs would illuminate this room to a greater degree than all of these bulbs put together. Said, let me show you. And he goes around and he loosens all the little bulbs but one. Then he takes the one remaining bulb that's burning and he takes it right out of the socket and he puts in the 60-candle powered bulb, and wham, to their amazement, that entire room is illuminated like daylight. They have difficulty believing that so much light could come from one bulb. Now I want you to imagine that traveler attempting to tell that elderly couple that the magic is not in the bulb, that the power had always been there. They'd say, oh, no way, the magic's in the bulb. You go back to the electrician or the engineer, and they'll tell you that the only limits placed on this power that we call electricity, that is illuminating this stage, the only limits placed on it are the limits that's placed on the form through which it flows, namely the transformer or the bulb. Likewise, the only limit that's placed on this power are the limits that's placed on the form through which it flows. And if you want to illuminate your life to a greater degree, all that is necessary is for you to build a bigger idea, understand the laws of this power, impregnate this part of your personality with that bigger idea, and you will see your results change just as fast as the light in that room changed. This power doesn't recognize difference. It just takes whatever you give to it and turns it into form.